There's a new way to trade crypto futures in 2025 that I'm finding quite interesting, and so I want to talk to you about it today. This site is called CoinFutures. Now, before we get into it, of course, I did just want to be clear in the fact that this video is sponsored. They have paid me to talk about this, but I do find it quite interesting, and so I want to talk to you about it today, and then, of course, you can make your own decision from there. All the necessary links and everything will be in the description below if you are interested in checking it out further. Now, without further ado, let's go on ahead and let's talk about CoinFutures. So first off, we can see here, this is the site. It's called CoinFutures. It is a crypto futures trading platform. So again, this is the same type of thing as leverage trading. So if you do not leverage trade, or you do not like to leverage trade, then you shouldn't be using this, just because that's exactly what this is. Now you can see here, there's no KYC or exchange accounts here. It's up to 1000x leverage, and you can cash out at any time. Again, I would strongly discourage anybody using anything even close to 1000x leverage. I mean, that is just absolute insanity if you ask me. I personally have never used anything above 100x leverage, and even still 100x, that's pretty nuts, and that's usually the level at which I'm kind of just taking gambles at that point, if we're being completely honest. And so 1000x, I would strongly discourage you away from that. I usually am doing things kind of 20x maximum. Like I said, I have done up to 100x before, but that's very, very, very rare. I'm usually only doing 10 to 20x. And even if I'm doing like a longer term play that I have conviction in, I'm like probably 3 to 5x maximum. So hopefully that gives you some kind of context in terms of how I use leverage. Of course, you do need to make your own decisions. You might find different things that work out differently for you. But for me, at least, lower leverage is generally a lot better, just because higher leverage, yes, you can make insanely eye-watering amounts of money, but you can also lose insanely eye-watering amounts of money as well off of this slightest wick. So just something to think about there. But you can see, you can scale down to, they've got a little bit of a mock-up of the UI here. You can scale down to 1x or up to 1000x. Again, I would be staying very, very far on this end of the sliding scale here. But what you can see is they're calling it coin poker, and I think it is kind of an interesting thing, because they've kind of simplified the process a little bit. For those of you who might be more advanced, maybe you're looking for some of the more details and stuff. But at least in my opinion, I think this is kind of cool. It does simplify it and make it a little bit more digestible if you are looking to learn a little bit. You can see here, price will go up or down, essentially long or short. They're kind of simplifying that a little bit. And then you can essentially pick how much you're like willing to bet per se. I think they're looking to make this more of like a over under type of sports betting type of situation. So you can see here there is a wager, and then of course you can do the multiplier, and then it will give you your bust price depending on kind of the multiplier that you choose. So it is nice that they at least show you kind of how little room you might have based on kind of the multiplier that you set. So I do think that is a really good thing to see here to help make it very clear to people just how little certain moves would be until you hit that bust price. Now, of course, you can kind of like pick the price you think it will go to. Of course, if it does hit that price, then you win. If you hit your bust price, then you lose. And then, of course, if you want to cash out early, let's say you thought that Bitcoin would go to $100,000 and it's currently at 62,000, but it gets up to, let's just say, 70,000, you could cash out at that point instead of having to wait for it to go all the way up to the level that you think or you're predicting that it should go. So overall, that's kind of how CoinFutures works. It's definitely, to me, it feels a little bit more like kind of gamified and maybe even a little bit gambly rather than like actual trading. So if you are looking from kind of more like kind of more short term, playing it fast and loose, having some fun, I think this makes more sense. If you are looking to essentially do some like short-term trading where you're like charting and doing a lot of that type of stuff, maybe some of the other options that we talk about on the channel could be a little bit better here. Now, of course, I know that there are kind of people that do either way. I generally am kind of doing more of the low leverage kind of short-term trading, but I mean, I'll be honest, I do kind of throw some crazy ones now and again, just because, it is kind of fun. So I do recognize some of the value in that. Now, if you are interested, you of course can register. They also have kind of the steps to start playing. So you register and download Coin Poker. You make a deposit. One of the things that I actually really do like about CoinFutures that I think is really cool is you can actually hold collateral in USDT, Bitcoin, or Ethereum. This is something that, you know, few exchanges do. Most everything is denominated in USDT, but I think being able to hold in Bitcoin or Ethereum is really cool because it does kind of add an extra level of leverage, both for the good and for the bad on there if you are interested in that. So for example, if you were to long Bitcoin using Ethereum, and let's just say, you know, Bitcoin doubles and Ethereum triples, well, you technically have made 6x on your money because you've doubled Bitcoin and you're now going to get paid back in Ethereum, and Ethereum has tripled in price. So your fiat value has now 6x'd in price, which I do think is really, really cool. So I actually love having kind of the multi-asset kind of funding options here. So that's something that I think is really cool. After that, you just open the crypto futures tab and then you start playing and essentially, like, you know, do whatever you're looking for here. Now, again, I will give another disclaimer. You do need to be careful. This stuff is very, very risky. I would consider this similar to gambling or sports betting. You might win, but you also might lose, and you can win a lot, but you also can lose a lot. And so just be very, very careful if you are getting into this. I understand and kind of respect the place in the market for this, but if you are going into this, you know, kind of thinking it's anything other than gambling, you're kind of coming into it wrong, in my opinion. Now, moving on, you can see how to trade crypto futures on CoinFutures. You just select the currency you're looking for. If you're going to predict if it goes up or down, very simple. They actually have something very similar to this on crypto.com. So if you have used crypto.com before, you might be quite familiar with this type of setup. And then you choose a price multiplier, and then you place your prediction and, you know, cash out if you win. And obviously, you know, if you lose a little bit of money there. So you can see they've got a whole bunch of different payment methods here, as well as a whole bunch of different funding methods as well. So a lot of different things to do here if you are interested. And then they, of course, do have the crypto futures leaderboard, so you can kind of see how you're performing compared to other people within the market. So again, another interesting thing that you can check out as well. And then here, it's, you know, obviously the fast real-time action, particularly if you're trading in higher leverage. Even the smallest changes of price will have very, very material impacts on your bets. So that is something here. And then, of course, you know, you've got they're saying it's built for strategy, so you can kind of check the wicks and stuff, and kind of try and do a little bit more technical analysis if you are looking to do that. And then, of course, you can track, compete, do all that type of good stuff as well. So if you do have any other kind of like more standard questions you think that you might have, there is a whole list of things here. If you are interested, you can check them out here in the FAQ section, and you can see, you know, if there's any other specific questions that you might have. Again, just check the link in the description below if you are looking to check into any of these FAQs. So overall, that's pretty much CoinFutures in a nutshell. Hopefully you can understand kind of like the type of site that it is. If you are interested, kind of doing a little bit more of some crazy trading or speculating, then, you know, of course, you can feel free to use the link in the description below. Of course, again, just please be cognizant of the risks involved, and make sure that you understand kind of the nature of the beast and the risks that you are taking by participating in leverage trading just generally. This isn't just for this site, but this is just leverage trading in general. So overall, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, of course, a like and a subscribe does help. We do talk about kind of daily crypto updates with all things going on within the crypto, alt markets, all that type of stuff. So if you are interested, just like, subscribe, all that type of stuff. Click the notification bell so you can follow and be notified whenever I release a new video. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.